What the hell just happened? What did I just watch? Braun Breaker has officially aligned himself with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins, laying out both CM Punk and Roman Reigns, making for not only one of the most jaw-dropping Raw after WrestleMania moments of all time, but also as the moment WWE changed forever, propelling new stars to the main event scene that will lead the company for decades, setting up numerous stories in the process, multiple WrestleMania main events, megastars, and best of all, the inception of a faction not yet complete. Who becomes the next Paul Heyman guy? Will there be another one? Does Seth have another ace up his sleeve waiting to be executed? The possibilities are truly endless. So with all out the way, it's your boy Lancy, and let's get straight into the video because this is a wild one. Coming off the back of one of the greatest WrestleMania matches in history, where we saw possibly the most shocking double turn ever with Paul Heyman not only low blowing his best friend CM Punk, but also his tribal chief Roman Reigns in a move many theorized could happen, but never thought it would come to fruition. When Paul handed over the chair to Seth Rollins, I geeked out so hard I could not believe what was unfolding in front of my eyes. A decade earlier at the same show I went to, WrestleMania 31, it was Seth who played spoiler while Paul Heyman sat there, lost for words, creating what would go down as the heist of the century. And 10 years later, on the grandest stage of them all, history repeated itself one more time, but this time Paul did the screwing. Paul stole the headlines, not in a heist, but rather in betrayal. All of this was needed. Seth needed it. If Seth wanted to be the guy in WWE, no longer put on the back burner for quote-unquote bigger stars, no longer looked at as a guy to elevate returning talent. How tired was Seth Rollins? No. How tired was Kobe Lopez of not being appreciated, not being respected as one of the greats? Shit needed to change, and that's exactly what happened. This is no longer the same Seth Rollins. Scrap the entrance, scrap the catchphrase, scrap the mini gimmicks. There's an edge to him that wasn't there before. April 21st, 2025, a day that will go down in infamy for many reasons as the epoch you can trace the next decade of stories back to, but most importantly, the defining moment of Seth Rollins' career. But wait, let's talk about Braun Breaker. Clearly, he's gonna be the next megastar of WWE, and I know I've thrown that word around loosely in some of my past videos, but Braun Breaker is going to be a megastar of the WWE, main eventing WrestleMania after WrestleMania, breaking all records, his unmatched charisma, his incredible look, the fan connection, his patented spear. Braun Breaker legitimately has everything it takes to dominate the industry for decades. When I first laid my eyes on him back in NXT 2.0, like many of us, I knew he was immediately destined for greatness, and guess what? My prediction has aged beautifully. Just think about it for a second. After losing his Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, there was questions as to what was going to happen with Braun Breaker. Would he stay in the mid-card scene? Was it time for him to slowly get pushed up the main event scene? No. He went straight into the deep end, going toe-to-toe with some of the biggest names in wrestling history, Roman Reigns and CM Punk, in addition to partnering with wrestling royalty and Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman himself, one of the smartest minds the wrestling business has ever seen. If that's not a testament to the confidence WWE has in Braun, then I don't know what is. He is poised to lead us into a new era, and fans were in for one hell of a ride. Keyword, new era, because he's not the only one that's gonna lead us there. Who else joins this dangerous alliance? An evolution of sorts. In my eyes, I love the theory of Austin Theory, no pun intended. A young star filled with so much promise, stuck in limbo, desperately in need of guidance, and what better way to rise than under the tutelage of Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, which skyrockets him to a whole nother level. Under the regime of Triple H, Austin Theory has been pissed away doing meaningless tag stuff with Grayson Waller looking like a buffoon every week, and when the opportunity arose for change, fanfare was there, iron was hot. It was never struck, but this time around, the story will be different. It makes too much sense not to, especially with what Seth Rollins said and why all this is happening in the first place. Plus, Seth Rollins and Austin Theory do have a lot of history with one another. This is for the betterment of the company. It's always been about that. While other stars use WWE as a stepping stone for bigger ventures or take their ball home when they don't get their way, Seth's been the opposite. He's determined to make sure the very promotion that gave him an opportunity to shine will be better off when he retires, when he fades into the sunset. That's what it's all about. Legacy isn't simply defined by titles or accolades. It's about the impact you leave behind by cultivating new talent and bringing them into the fold fold, Seth is creating a foundation for the future. Imagine a faction that not only dominates the present, but also shapes the next generation of superstars. It's a tale as old as time, like we've seen with Evolution. With Braun Breaker already making waves and now possibly adding Austin Theory into the mix, we're witnessing the birth of a true powerhouse alliance that will embody everything WWE stands for: passion, perseverance, and an unyielding desire to make the company better, not just for them, but for those who came before them and those that will continue to come afterwards. This alliance could be setting the stage for an unprecedented era in WWE history. That's how big this is. John Cena's retirement tour may take up the rest of this year, but afterwards, this faction has free reign of WWE for how long they want. Okay, I know I'm talking as if Theory's already in the group, but that's the fan of me. That's what I really want to see, which probably isn't gonna happen. So let's talk about other candidates to join the group, as this is possibly the most talked about thing in WWE at the moment, with fans throwing out all sorts of ideas, theories. Some I love and some I find downright futile. For example, a name a lot of people have thrown around is Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch being added while she's in the twilight of her WWE career is going against the basic principles as to why this faction has come together in the first place. I don't really care if her and Seth Rollins are married. That doesn't really add a lot to it. And what is she gonna add in specific that is gonna elevate Braun Breaker or Austin Theory? At that point, if she's going to be added into the group, you gotta add like another female to the group that can be elevated with the help of Becky Lynch, with the guidance of Becky Lynch. In my mind, Becky Lynch is already a big star, one of the biggest in the women's division, and she doesn't need to be involved in all this. Plus, she sucks as a heel. Another name thrown out there is that of NXT's Ethan Page, and when I hear Ethan Page being involved in the mix, I don't like it at all. He's 35. The leader, Seth Rollins, of all this is 38, and I don't want to hear Batista comparisons when we are in 2025. Two different situations, and they aren't even close. Other names that have been thrown in the mix are Trick Williams, Fraxia, woman from NXT, and I don't love those. We don't need to make this NWO or Bullet Club with 50 fucking members. Austin Theory to me is the perfect choice. He fits like a glove. He's 27 and gives Randy Orton vibes, but there's another name I do like, Carmelo Hayes. You know, Carmelo Hayes, first overall pick. There's something with them. I do like the idea of Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory. Those are my two names off the board I would pick to pluck into this faction. WrestleMania 41 wasn't the conclusion of this story between Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Paul Heyman, rather just the beginning of a new chapter, a new page turn that can span to next year's big event. But let's be grounded and focused on what's in front of us, that being Backlash just a few weeks away, where we will see Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman by their side taking on two men who loathe one another, that being Roman Reigns and CM Punk. But we'll put all that to the side for one night, for one common goal: revenge. Revenge on Paul Heyman, the man who screwed both of them, or they think so, as on that night the final piece to the puzzle will be complete, and once again history will repeat itself for like the third time or like 10th time in this whole story. Seth Rollins will stand tall with Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker. But this time, there's going to be another man added into all that. Who knows how long all of this will go for? This is just the start of something special, but let's enjoy the ride while asking questions like, how long will it take for Seth Rollins to capture that World Heavyweight Championship? Because at some point, sooner rather than later, I feel like he may end up with that world title fairly quickly.